This regular meeting of the Detroit Lake City Council is called to order. And at this time, I'd like to invite all of you to please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular City Council meeting, which was held on July 9th, 2019. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to make any changes or adjustments to the minutes? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for their approval as printed.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held July 9th, 2019. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. The consent agenda is before the council, and all items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience or any of the council members that wishes to either add or remove an item from the consent agenda?
Your Honor, I'd like to remove 6N, please.
Okay. Any other changes? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 6M N from the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda with the exclusion of item 6N. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. We have two new firefighters with us this evening that I'd like to ask to come forward, Sam Ness and Brian Cooksey, if you would, and I will administer your oath of office.
Thanks for asking.
You guys. So if you would repeat after me. I,
Sam,
promise that I will humbly serve all customers with an urgent response
all customers with an urgent response
to their crisis with compassion,
to the crisis with compassion,
sincerity and concern,
concern,
patience, kindness, and respect.
patience, kindness, and respect.
I promise that I will at all times
I promise that I will at all times
conduct myself in a manner
conduct myself in a manner
that reflects positively on the fire department
that reflects positively on the fire
and
department
the city of Detroit Lakes.
and the city of Detroit Lakes.
Finally, I promise to follow the policies
Finally, I promise to follow the policies
of the fire department,
of the fire department,
uphold the laws of our state and nation,
uphold the laws of our state and nation,
and the ordinances of the city of Detroit Lakes,
and the ordinances of the city of Detroit Lakes,
and that I will faithfully discharge my duties
and I will faithfully discharge my duties
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Have anybody want to introduce us with you tonight, or
Not tonight.
going solo?
My wife, Lindsay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also this evening, we have the co-admirals of the 84th Northwest Water Carnival with us this evening, Brian Anderson and Matt Kelly, and they would like to address the council. Matt and Brian. Hi, guys.
Hello. Thanks for having us. Howdy.
Hi.
I'll start. Let me start. Well, we had a 10-day event, the Water Carnival. It's been 84 years. It was another amazing year at the Water Carnival. Our attendance was awesome. The weather was awesome. We only had rain a couple mornings and didn't affect us any, so it was great. We deal with Tom Goulon a lot. I personally deal with Tom Goulon a lot. I don't see the people that he deals with. I don't know their names, but they did amazing work. Everything that we requested of the city was all where we needed it, when we needed it, and it was awesome. So thank you for all your help.
I thought it was just a tremendous event, so thank you for all your work. We really appreciate it. Any other comments from the council or anybody?
Thank you, Detroit Lakes, for everything. For everything. It's just, just period.
I don't believe I heard who the new admiral or admirals are for next year.
There are two of them. One of them is not here, Mandy Henningsen, but the other is Annette Court.
Okay. Very good.
No, not me. I'd just like to announce one of our new admirals, Annette.
Hi, born and raised Detroit Lakes, so I'm really excited for the 85th Water Carnival. Going to try to bring back some of the oldies but goodies, so looking forward to next year.
Sounds good. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also tonight we have some folks with the League of Minnesota Cities that are here, and I want to introduce Luke Fisher, and Luke's going to introduce the other two people that are with him this evening. Luke?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm Luke Fisher. I'm Deputy Director with the League of Minnesota Cities. I'm joined tonight by Dan Greenswig, our Insurance Trust Administrator, and Pat Beatty, our General Counsel. We've been out on the road since yesterday, and Detroit Lakes was one of the stops that we had planned, and this was a meeting that was important to us to stop by and visit. You all know a little bit about the League, but we're an association that represents 833 of the state's 853 cities. We do a lot of work on behalf of our members. We do training and conferences. We have a research division that helps cities when they're looking into a new ordinance or a policy. We have an HR hotline that you can call if you have a personnel issue. We do legislative advocacy at the state capitol, and as you all know, we also provide insurance to you and to cities across the state in a really unique way. We do that through a joint powers agreement. So all the coverage that we provide is really tailored to specifically cities' needs, and that's an important thing that we do and something that we're very proud to do. When we think about cities in the state, we think about Detroit Lakes as a leader in the region and a leader in the state, and that's because you've got great leadership at the council dais, but you also have strong leadership in your city staff. Kelsey's been a great leader in the area, and I know the city management profession is very well respected, and he's someone that a lot of people look up to, so you should be proud of him and the rest of your staff that you have here as well. Tonight, we just wanted to come out and say thank you for your membership in the League of Minnesota Cities. We wanted to say thank you for your membership in our insurance trust, and then we just wanted to offer to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the council for Luke?
Comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just
Comments are
comment
fine,
you guys
too.
earlier, you put out that magazine and we get your newsletter, and I think that's all great stuff to be able to look at and read and keep up to date on what's going on in Minnesota City, so appreciate that.
Absolutely. We're going to be in Perham on September 26th for a regional meeting. We'd like to extend an invitation to all of you to join us at that regional meeting. I left some information at the council dais for you, but
Okay.
thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thanks for coming, guys. We appreciate it. Thank you. Also, Rebecca Peterson is here this evening with West Central Initiative, and I think, Rebecca, you've got someone else or two other people with you that you could introduce if you would.
I have one other person, but
Okay.
first of all, greetings from Tom McSparron. I think
Okay.
you remember Tom. He's retired and living in Arizona now. This is my new colleague, Samantha Van Wetchelmeyer. She's our new development specialist, and I call her Control Central. So she keeps track of me and everyone else. I'd just like to draw attention to some items in your packet, and I'll make this brief because I see you have a full agenda. But on the right-hand side of your packet, there's a sheet that just gives a profile of our work in Becker County and specifically Detroit Lakes. And draw attention to the fact that we have two WCI board members from Becker County, Amy Stoller Stearns, your very own Holmes Theater director. And I have to comment on something Amy once said to me. She said, you know, in Detroit Lakes, we do community really well. And I have to say, By the looks of the attendance at your city council meetings, I can see that's true. Barb Faber is also on our board, and also Councilmember Zeman is on our EDD board, so thank you for your service to West Central Initiative. Also on the sheet, I just want to highlight some high points that we have funds housed at West Central Initiative from Detroit Lakes, the Becker County Historical Society Fund, Detroit Lakes Area Community Foundation, Detroit Lakes Athletic Foundation, Detroit Lakes Loan Fund, the Detroit Lakes Public Education Foundation, and the Detroit Lakes Public Library Endowment, and we're doing some work with them currently. So, also, I had Samantha run a report for me about our activity in Detroit Lakes with our grants and loans program. And in the last 3 years, we've made over $575,000 in loans and grants. So we really value our partnership with your community and with the County of Becker. On the left-hand side of your packet, behind the letter, I want to draw attention to a gear piece that we have represented here. This is our new framework for our new strategic plan and our strategic priorities. And just to mention that West Central Initiative is not just a philanthropic organization, but we're a planning organization as well. So we start with the inner circle, which is about reimagining regional, educating, activating, and celebrating, and investing in local. We move out to the outer gear, which is the Develop MN cornerstones, our planning piece of community resources, human capital, foundational assets, and economic competitiveness. And then we realize that as we reimagine regional, we know what happens here in our 9-county region has an impact globally. So we've adopted the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals because we also know what's happening globally affects us here regionally. So this is our new strategic plan. The priority that I'm most interested in these days is our number 17 of the SDGs, and that's partnership for these goals, and we see our 9 counties and 82 cities being strong partners in this. One of our programs called Live Wide Open focuses on workforce development, and we've seen a strong need in our region for, we've got a workforce shortage issue. We also look at childcare issues. We hear that from everyone, and housing issues. And if there are other things we should hear about from you, we'd like you to speak up. I'm here also to thank you for your past support for the past 10 years. Your city has been generous in supporting West Central Initiative. Because of our Live Wide Open program, and they're looking for sponsors, rather than coming to our cities and our counties on multiple occasions to ask for funding, we just ask that you consider increasing your funding in the next year by $500 and the following 2 years by $750, just to match with our strategic priorities. So I don't need you to make a decision. You might want to spend some time talking about that, and look forward to continued partnership with your community. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, I was going to say, you certainly have hit the hot spots with housing and child care and workforce. Those are things that's needed by every community, and especially here in Detroit Lakes.
Yeah, and we hear that. We were just down in Pope County, and every place we go, we hear that those are the top 3 issues. And we've been doing a lot of work with Ben Winchester, who, says we may have a housing shortage right now. We're going to see some housing turnover as seniors who are living in big houses are moving into other assisted living, but then we need to address that issue as well. So it's kind of like this, you take one hole and plug it in, and you've got another one to fill. So we welcome any comments or concerns that we can partner on those issues with you on.
Well, thank
Anything
you for
else?
coming. We appreciate the information, and we appreciate all the work you do, and we appreciate being a collaborator with you. So
Thank you.
Thanks
Same
for
here.
coming.
All right.
I'm going to jump around a little bit because there's people here that are here for specific agenda items, and that way everybody doesn't have to sit through the whole proceeding here. So I will go ahead and jump to item 5A if we could, Dan.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, item 5A is under the Community Development Committee, and just wanted to let you know that we had discussion yesterday at the committee on on allowing chickens to be raised within the city limits of Detroit Lakes. We had input from advocates for that, from city staff, and from council members that were there. The pros and cons on that are pretty well covered in the information that's in your agenda packets. So if you looked at that, you'll get the discussion pretty much revolved around that. Those pros and cons is presented there. The majority of the committee did support allowing chickens to be raised in Detroit Lakes, but the next step would be to go ahead and start drafting an ordinance for consideration by the full council, but rather than just have the staff go ahead with that, it seemed to make sense to the committee to find out what the sense is of the rest of the council on moving ahead with allowing chickens in the to be raised in the city, and then if there is a sense that the council wants to take a look at an ordinance, then the staff would go ahead and start drafting that. I know there's a couple people here tonight. We told them that that the council would meet on this and that there'd be an opportunity to provide some information to us tonight too.
Sure.
So I can respond to questions if you want.
Yeah, if there are folks here, we certainly can allow them to speak. We have heard from some folks, I think, last meeting, and there were folks at your committee meeting yesterday, right, Dan?
Yes, we probably had 8 or 9, I'm guessing 8 or 9, 10 people that were at the meeting last night.
So maybe for the, in the interest of saving some time, unless you have something really new to say, if you do want to make a comment, I'd appreciate it if it would be just a brief comment, and then we can have some discussion amongst the council up here. So anybody want to say a few words or not? Or
I think a few of us would like to say a few quick words.
Sure, yep.
Thank you for even allowing this discussion. I do have some things I wanted to hand out if possible. After having yesterday's discussion, a couple of questions and things were brought up, and I wanted to supply you with some facts so you could think about that before, or maybe some clarity.
Nina, would you
I'm super nervous.
Introduce yourself?
Yes. I'm Nina Kleinschmidt. My heart is pounding. I'm a resident of DL. I'm not good at public speaking. I have 3 young kids. My husband works at White Earth, and I work at Essentia. And we live on Minnesota Avenue.
Well, you're doing just fine, so don't worry about it.
Okay. So these are some points that some people were worried about, and it's the smell. And if you look at this pamphlet, you can see that chickens, one chicken will produce about 45 pounds of waste a year. In comparison, dogs are 270 pounds each, and cats are about 100. So as far as like saying chickens are smelly, dogs and cats can also be a lot smellier as well, as they produce more feces, and chicken manure can be used in compost, and as long as I'm so nervous, I'm so sorry. I don't think I've spoken in public since I was in high school, and that's a long time ago. Okay, anyhow, moving on, if you look through the pamphlet, it goes over how chickens are not as noisy as lawnmowers or human conversation, and we're not asking for roosters, and we're only asking for 4. And then other facts are also in this pamphlet. There's some concern about it, chicken spreading diseases, and I looked up a lot of information coming from the CDC, and the CDC said that as far as avian flu goes, there's no serious illnesses regarding avian flu coming from chickens. And then as far as salmonella goes, which I think is a hot topic for a lot of people here, the CDC has never stated that they are against poultry in the backyards of people. Instead, they recommend to practice biosecurity. The Humane Society of the United States also supports the measures of backyard hens, because they feel that is preventing chickens from being abused otherwise in factory farms and whatnot. Anyhow, some facts. Somebody brought in a picture yesterday that said that it had a picture on it from the CDC that 7 deaths were related to salmonella. And that picture is in your pamphlet. And if you look at it closely, it basically says that in 18 years, 7 people have died. And that is, you know, it's worrisome, and we care about people. But I want to point out that in 2017 alone, 1 year, 39 people died from dog bites. In the span of 12 years, over 400 people have died from dog bites. So 7 in 18 years in comparison to how many people could be harmed from dogs is a big difference. And I would, further in the pamphlet it says that about 4.5 million people, humans, are bit by dogs each year, and thousands are hospitalized. And this number goes up every year. That number has not been going down, it's only been going up. So with biosecurity, things like salmonella don't usually happen. And then I also have a list there of all the diseases that are spread by cats and dogs, which are allowed within city limits, and those both include salmonella, which I knew was a hot topic. And I think that is it. I think with, you know, there's a lot of citizens, I have over 200 signatures of people living in DL who are okay with this. And I don't think it's going to be in every person's backyard. I've researched, it just got passed in Park Rapids, just got passed in Asante. I probably pronounced that wrong. And in Fargo alone, they only had 6 applications in 8 months. I don't think it'll be in everyone's backyards. Anyhow,
Thank you.
sorry for the quick speaking.
I'm Lee Nelson, and I'm with Minnesota 4-H Youth Development, and I am a Becker County 4-H Program Coordinator here. And although 4-H is not taking a stance on this issue, and Nina wanted the council to know that 4-H would be happy to support further education to families and youth in this capacity if this ordinance is to pass, so.
Okay. I do know this is one issue where I've actually had a number of calls, and people are concerned about having chickens in the next door neighbor's backyard. So I hope the council, whatever we do, I hope we move slow enough to where, you know, people in the community have time to respond to, you know, we've obviously heard from you folks that are proponents of this, but I don't know if the word has been out enough for people that would be against it to really, you know, talk to their council members, so.
Yeah, we were in the news, and we were in W Day on television and got a lot of support that way. We were in the newspaper as well, the DL newspaper, and got a lot of support that way.
Okay, I think what we should do here is maybe hear from the council, you know, is there enough support where we want staff to start working on, would it be a revision to our ordinance, or would it be a new ordinance?
We have to amend our existing.
Amend the existing ordinance?
So it'd be some sort of amendment with addition to it.
Okay. You know, maybe we could just, you know, have some discussion or take a straw poll and see what the feeling of the council is. Go ahead, Jay.
Are we proposing, they're not proposing to be free range? I mean, they would be in a coop the
In a
entire
coop.
time?
Well-maintained coop, maximum of 4, no more than that. Only hens, which cackle maybe once a day at most. Each.
And how does that work? You just kind of move the coop throughout the yard, or is it in a fixed place? How does?
So there's different ways to do it. You can have a coop in a fixed yard. You can also have, it's like a cage that you move around, because chickens they eat weeds, they eat mosquitoes, they eat bugs. They basically till the soil. So a lot of people move them around their yard. But for the sake of what our ordinance is, that they would be kept in the coop, and I would hope that they would be allowed to free range in a fenced yard with their owner there. They would not be allowed to just roam free like the cats that you see around town, or the dogs that you see without a leash, or the squirrels or the rabbits.
Okay. I'm just going to go around and take a poll if
Can I
see
just
what.
make a comment?
No, go ahead.
No, I don't feel ready to kind of say how I'm going to vote on this at this time, but I do sort of agree with you, and I think our ordinance is dated big time, and probably needs to be looked at as a whole. I mean, there's a lot of different pets that people want to have nowadays, or think are pets nowadays, and I just think that would be, I mean, I'm personally not sure that we're doing justice either to the cat and dog control in town. So maybe look at it from a wider angle.
Bruce, do you want? Add something to that?
Well, I have a lot to add to that, but I was going to give my fellow council people a chance to chat first. But if you want me to go now, I'll go.
Go ahead.
Well, what I found frustrating yesterday, and I brought this up, and I'm glad Nina mentioned it about the dog issue, is, you know, I said, well, we started talking about dogs, and the comment was, well, it's about chickens. Well, the issue comes up if you think chickens are dirty, messy, smelly, create a nuisance, then it's very valid to bring up, and by the way, I'm not a dog hater, so don't bring that up. But I think if you want to be consistent in your belief, if you think that chickens are smelly, dirty animals that are causing problems, when I got this list of reasons not to allow backyard chickens, I read off, I said, and I substituted the word dog every time they had chickens, so most people cannot tell when a dog is sick. Stray chickens are a problem. Stray dogs are a problem. I just substituted dogs every time they had this in here. This is something that Larry put together, and you know, to me, it's just like, well, let's run down the whole list of why you don't like chickens. And when I looked at the whole list to me was a reason not to have dogs. And my point was, I'm not arguing against not having dogs, okay? That's not my point. My point is, if you want to be consistent in your belief, if you don't like chickens, then you shouldn't like dogs and cats either, because I think Nina did a great job of putting together. And if you look at the diseases, if that was a thing, that the salmonella thing was a big thing yesterday, Nina, you're right. And obviously cats can have salmonella, dogs can have salmonella, but the big thing that I saw was that both dogs and cats can have rabies. And to me, I've heard a lot more issue about rabies in our town than I've ever heard about salmonella. So I might have to respond, so I'm going to keep my comments short here, Mayor, other than to say I don't want to rat somebody out, but I also heard yesterday that about something about grandkids and chickens next door, and I have 4 grandkids in town. I would have no problem with them touching chickens, because I'd always make sure they wash their hands, but I don't want to rat anybody out. But by the way, L&M Fleet, for 3 to 4 weeks in the spring, has all those baby chicks in the store, and all the kids are coming in and touching them. So just to let you know that.
Well, I still think we should take a straw vote here and see if we want to have city staff start working on something. And if there's not support for it, then we don't want to waste their time.
So just I'm already on record yesterday at the committee as opposing this, and I was the one that talked about the fact we were talking about chickens and not dogs, but frankly, I don't see a parallel or a connection between the two. I mean, we're talking about different classes of animals here. Dogs and cats are primarily bred to be pets. Chickens are a class of animal that is livestock, which are primarily bred to be food, clothing, and so forth. So if we do open up the door to chickens, I don't see why you couldn't go down that same list and say goats, cows, donkeys, horses, pigs, whatever you want to take and add to that list, because we have opened the door to livestock. We're not talking about 1 chicken here, we're talking about 4. Our current pet ordinance already says that you need a special license to get 3 or more animals, but this would just open the door to 4 right away. You know, I think the other thing is we're talking about putting these, basically maybe cages in the grass or coops. To tell you the truth, I think if you're voting for this, you better assume, and I know we're not voting today, Your Honor, that if you're in a regular city lot, there will be a chicken coop on one lot, a chicken coop on the other, and one in back of you. I mean, that's the only, you can't think that this is going to be in somebody else's neighborhood. You better think that it's going to be in your back, or edge of your backyard. Third, I'm looking at the Pelican River today in back of my house, and it winds through the town, through many backyards. So where are the chicken coops going to go? In the backyard. So yes, I know we have dog waste, we have cat waste, but now we're adding yet another type of waste on top of the stuff that's already there. So if it rains like it has, what's going to wash into the river, which ends up in the lake and downstream? So, I mean, for all these reasons, I just don't see it. You know, Jamie, you were absolutely right. We have problems with our leash laws and keeping stray cats, you know, in line, stray cats, stray dogs. Now, again, we're just adding another animal that we have to keep track of somehow. And we already are at a point where we're having trouble keeping animals off the streets and where they belong. And I don't see that getting better by adding chickens. If everybody was going to be like the people that are here tonight presenting, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But we're always going to have a percentage of people that are going to put up the coop, forget about the chickens. They're going to be wandering around town. They're not going to take care of them. And that's why I'm going to be, I don't want to pursue this any further.
Okay, I still think we should take a straw vote, and if it's close, then maybe we have the staff work on something and put it up for first reading, and that way folks from the public, besides the proponents for chickens, can come and speak their piece. And go ahead, Ron.
The only comment I have, nothing against chickens, but I think they belong in a rural environment. And here in Detroit Lakes, we've got many of our lots, our 50, 7,500 foot lots aren't that deep. So like Alderman Winter said, if you happen to have 3 of these along your side, you could have quite a bit of waste to take care of. And you assume everybody's going to clean up after this. But I don't know if most of you have been around the area when they clean turkey barns and so forth, that smell you get. But this could be in a hot, muggy day. This could be a smell that you could have on a regular basis. But this picture that I brought yesterday, I took a picture of that. Don't play chicken with your health. That was done by the Center for Disease Control. I don't think they take anything very lightly. And this was at the Becker County Fair last year in the Penning area, and it was also at Minnesota State Fair. And it's just telling people that what can happen. And there were over 5,128 illnesses caused by chickens in that time period. 950 of those people were hospitalized, and 7 of the people died. So when you hear someone now, I don't take that lightly. And I just think we've got to be aware and concerned about the public safety of the people in our community. And there's a lot of deals right now, a lot of towns that are allowing these pet pigs too. And so, some of these things just have to be in the farm environment, I feel, and I think that's where it should be, as in a farm environment.
Okay, I got my yeses and my nos up here, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to find out, what the level of support is, and it doesn't mean it ends tonight, but Bruce, you would be in favor, right?
Hey, this is not an argumentative thing. This is just an information piece. You can get this right off by the way, Nina mentioned the Fargo ordinance. Great source if you want to look at that. Chicken poop can be composted. It can be put in your garden. Dog poop cannot be put in your compost or your garden, neither can cat. So just an information that you can recycle chicken poop.
Okay.
So yes, as a matter of fact, I'm in favor.
Jamie?
Is it too late for me to say anything?
Well, you're a little late to the game, but I'll let you say a couple words.
I appreciate it. Just, I'm Nick Beermeyer, I live at 1323. I don't want chickens myself, but I really, I love the idea of people being allowed to, and I do think that a lot of this, a lot of city councils are in the place that you're at right now, like in a fear, like not all of you, but with this fear. But all of these communities in Minnesota and the Brookings website, I really hope you go forward and get a chance to look at what they have done with all of these 50 cities in Minnesota, Fargo, Sioux Falls, St. Paul. Really, the Brookings website kind of breaks down exactly all of the fears that Larry laid out yesterday. In fact, they question the notion of 4 hens as livestock, because that might be not seen as livestock. A lot of people, you drive by these million chicken barns in the hot sun. Yeah, they stink, but that's not what we're talking about here. My 25-pound dog creates more poop a day than 4 hens will. It goes down and debunks every fear that has been brought up here today. And so we have to get past that. Of course, there's risk to everything. I was telling Nina and Lee here that there's risk to going to Barcelona, Cabo San Lucas, and to Chicago, but we don't not go there. We don't let that kind of fear control our lives. So I think if we look at facts, I do think there is a problem though, because we have this 2-pet law, and I've always thought that was going to be the only issue, honestly, because 2 hens. I still want 4 hens, but I do get that doesn't work with the 2-pet law right now. So something would have to happen there. course,
Okay.
more time,
But you don't want them yourself, you just want to get free eggs from your neighbors.
You know what? They're not even going to be enough to have. There won't be enough chickens for me to get. But you're right.
I was just kidding.
It's the truth, though.
Jamie, do you want to express your...
1323 Lake.
So you'd be an A for abstain?
Sure.
Okay. Dan?
I'm in favor of having chickens, have a look at it, and, let's go down that path and see what it brings.
Ron?
No.
Matt?
I'm a strong neutral. I don't have enough facts with the ordinance, what it would look like, how would enforce it. So I'd say let's walk down it and see where we go from there.
I say yes, let's explore.
I say yes also. We had this before in front of us 6 months ago or something, didn't we? And so here we are again. So I think we need to actually get the information and make an informed decision from there. So.
And Dan, you're a no.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go ahead.
So there's enough support, I think, to direct city staff to go to work on proposed ordinance. That doesn't mean it's approved. It doesn't mean we've adopted it.
Right.
We might get 100 people that have different views than you folks in here the next time we take this up. So thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. Dan, without objection, could you jump down to 5F?
5F is the resolution to approve the final plat in common interests for Community 90, which is a plat of Highland Estates First Edition. Resolution is in your packet. The committee recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the final plat in common interest community number 90, plat of Highland Estates First Edition. Discussion on the motion?
Mayor,
Bruce?
as long as Bob's here, but could you just give us like a 1-minute update on the project? Bob, where are you at? How's it coming?
Well, the city water and sewer is coming very shortly. John Pratt can tell you that. My driveway will be tarred about the same time that the Highland Drive and Randolph Road gets retarred. The landscaping is waiting for the city water and sewer to go through so I can do landscaping afterwards. The building is totally done. So I guess that's about where we're at.
Okay. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, Mayor, people have been asking, so I just wanted to...
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's good. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Bruce, you've got a couple items I'd like to adjust if I could jump over to your Public Works Committee. Would you take item K first for the marathon, please?
Okay, yes. Consideration to approving the revised routes for the Dick Beasley Run on September 7th. There's a new route map in your packet. Both the Public Works staff and our police chief have reviewed the route and are okay with it. Can we put it up on the screen at all? If not, okay. But anyway, the Public Works Committee recommends approval of the new route, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the revised route for the Dick Beardsley Run on September 7th, 2019. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the motion's carried.
Mayor,
Mike, do you want to add anything?
I think there was a representative.
Yeah, Mike, do you want to add anything or?
I just wanted to plug it a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and City Council, for, we just wanted to have the opportunity to just communicate to you guys, to your team in person, our reasonings and the benefits that come with the course change. I know that Public Works and the Chief of Police are in favor of it. But big picture is we just changed the start-finish line to Kent Freeman Arena. So the Kent Freeman Arena will be the place where the runners start and finish, actually inside. It'll kind of serve as the DL Dome, I guess, if you want to call it, for a day on Saturday. We'll have a little hedge against the weather. But more importantly, it helps the community from the standpoint it's a little safer course. We eliminated the Summit Avenue stretch. So we eliminated a bunch of intersections there. We're actually going to go Westlake Drive up to Washington and back, and then clockwise around the lake. And so Washington should hopefully be open by about 9:30 a.m. and Summit won't be touched. And so hopefully it's a lot easier for traffic and residents during the day. The one caveat is it does require a a detour from about 8 a.m. to 9:30 where eastbound traffic on Westlake Drive would be diverted on county roads, or I should say Legion Road, over to Sherrill Avenue up to Willow and over during that early morning stretch. But then after that, traffic will be able to proceed eastbound in Westlake. They can go north on Summit, north on Minnesota, north on Washington. So in the past, those roads have been engaged most of the morning till practically about noon, especially Washington like last year. So we feel great about it. We hope to have 2,000 plus people on September 7th. And we just want to thank you again for all your support and just make sure you kind of knew our reasoning. And this just came up in the last month, this opportunity to start, finish in a different spot and tweak the course. So any questions or?
I think
that's the spiel on the reasoning.
I think it's a good move. I think it's great. So tell Mark how much we appreciate having the
I will.
here, and thank you for
And
coming
next year will be the
tonight.
25th annual, so we'll have to plan something bigger and better for that party. But for now, let's get through this year. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bruce, without objection, can we jump back to item 6C?
6C. Yes, consideration of resolution designating the city of Detroit Lakes as a Green Step City. The Public Works Committee has reviewed this. I believe everybody has a listing of the resolution and what steps are involved in your packet. But I know that, Mayor, there's a couple people here who would like to address the council first, maybe before we vote. So I will wait to make my motion.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the council regarding the Green Step, what do we call it exactly, Bruce? Green Step City?
Green Step Cities program.
Green Step Cities program. Got it.
Oh, hi. I am Polly Daggett Anderson and was born and raised in the area, and I choose to spend vacation time here in the summer and all throughout the year, and I'm really excited about this. What really struck me about your mission, about our mission statement, is that we are accountable to both current and future generations of citizens, and the Green Step Cities plan is a free plan for us to use however we want to use it. And to me, it just says the word innovation in capital letters, that we will be continually reassessing what we're doing, looking for efficiencies, looking for best practices and innovative technologies that we can apply right here.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill Henke, 962 South Shore Drive. I would like to speak in favor of the program as well. I think it'll offer the city a wonderful opportunity to be innovative, to assess its own sustainability. I think it'll allow it to participate in potential economic drivers down the road. But it also maybe would be a good way for us to look at it from a continuous quality improvement standpoint. So it'll give us a mechanism that we can evaluate how we're doing, raise the bar on it, collaborate with other cities, and actually maybe even collaborate internationally as well. So I think it'd be a real win for the city here.
Thank you both for your comments. We appreciate it.
Mayor, the Public Works Committee has reviewed this the last couple of months, and as Bill Henke stated, that there's some pieces in here that we're going to be able to analyze annually, but we've already done a lot of things that qualify us as a Green Step City. I think the city itself has taken steps there, but this kind of formalizes that process, and the Public Works Committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution designated the city of Detroit Lakes as a Green Step City. Further discussion.
I got a comment.
Go ahead, Dan.
I guess I'm in favor of the Green Step Cities. It's a good thing. The city's already been doing a lot of the items, like Bruce said. We've been making upgrades. This just kind of formalizes the process. It gives us recognition. It's almost like a Tree City USA. It gives us something to hang our hat on. I think it's a good thing that we're going to be taking the lead on a lot of this stuff and just make improvements, save money. Going down that line, giving a plug for the clean energy resource teams. There's seed grant money available right now, grant funds from basically $500 to $5,000. Applications are due October 11th, and that's for basically energy improvements. You can use it for lighting upgrades and various other items. It's for labor only, and if you have questions on a seed grant for energy efficiency, you can contact me. You can contact the Central Certs region. You can look up on the University of Minnesota extension. So.
Okay, thank you. And I think yesterday, Bill you mentioned that there's maybe folks in the community that would be willing to help out with certain parts of this as we sort of get into it. We'll let Kelsey kind of start developing the thing, and then if we need additional help, we'll probably be reaching out to some of you folks. So.
And we'd be very happy to do so, and I think it just really allows the city to be very involved with the community. Also be mindful that there's an internship program that's part of this as well, and so they can certainly help take some of the load off and grant writing and some other aspects of it. So it truly could be a collaborative equity issue. So.
We appreciate that. Thank you. We have to vote, right?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries.
Mayor, as long as Dr. Henke is here, could we do item B, because I know he has an interest in that too.
Sure.
And that is the consideration of approving the location for the electric vehicle charging stations. If you looked at the map in your packet, these stations, the station will be down just west of the liquor store in that McKinley Plaza parking area. And initially, we're going to have 2 spots, and we're expected to have 6 at some point. Brad, if you can fill us in, when do we expect to have those completed, the first 2?
Well, the grant is just coming through right now, and that's why we need to designate it. Soon to be installed next year. But the location is in the parking area to the west of the liquor store.
Or did I say east? Yeah, the
Yes,
west.
and to the west of the liquor store. But again, this is granted for Nell Roberts, the Public Utility has been able to get, the state of Minnesota has designated certain routes so that people who have electric vehicles know there'll be charging stations around there. Detroit Lakes is fortunate enough to be picked for this grant, and this is just part of their process to make it come to fruition.
And just for clarity, Brad, the private contractor is going to actually build these stations, right?
Well, yeah, it'll be bid out.
So the timeline we're not really quite sure on, but it sounds like it'll be coming within the next year. So.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, but I think for the public to know that eventually we'll have these stations there, and this was a spot that was picked that was accessible right away for the grant, and that's accessible for folks off of Highway 10, and of course we expect them to stop over at the liquor store when they're charging up for the 30 minutes
Yes,
where
we do.
they're there. So anyway, the Public Works Department, Public Works Committee recommends approval of the location, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the location for the electric car charging stations. Discussion on the motion.
I got a question
Jay,
about that.
go ahead. Yep.
Is this, I know, I realize there's a grant for it, but at some point will people have to pay to charge their vehicles?
Yes, of course. It will be just like you get gas on credit card operated. That's part of the criteria was accessibility to your fiber optics, your power. Another thing is location that will provide the power to it. That will be charged back. The city will make money off of it. Your electrical charge. Now we charge for some of the other criteria was closeness to the restaurants, shopping, that type of thing. And that's one reason we wanted in that area. Because when they charge, I'm not sure the length of time, but these are high power quick charge. It still takes a while. It's not like their gas, 5 minutes you're out of there. It might be 30 minutes to an hour, and then you charge, and then they are charged. That's one of the steps.
Okay, go ahead, Bruce. Or did you make the motion second? Do we have a second?
It was second.
If it goes beyond like a minute, I forget.
I was going to say that spot was also picked because it's well lit and it's a safety spot for people coming off Highway 10, so that's a big part of it too. So, and it'll be great when we get all 6 spots there.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Is there anyone else that would like me to move something on the agenda to accommodate you getting out of here earlier than later? Yes, sir. Oh, you were waving, okay. Otherwise, we'll just go back to where we left off at the beginning. Okay. I believe we're on item 4E, so at this time I'll adjourn the regular council meeting and call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the proposed street and utility improvement project for Long Pine Estates Phase 2. And if I could just ask John Pratt, our city engineer, to give us a short intro on that, if you would.
Certainly, Mayor and Council. I'm just going to give a pretty abbreviated presentation on this since I don't know that there's a lot of interest. But this is the second phase of a housing subdivision out near Long Lake, proposed by Raymond Redding. We updated last month a memo updating the report and some costs and things like that. Just as a matter of recap, this will be about a 14-lot subdivision. It's effectively extending a street, I forget the name now, Village Lane between Longview Drive and Brainerd Boulevard. So it's a pretty straightforward project, street, sewer, water, stormwater, things of that nature. There are some things that have been updated in our assessment policy that impact the project. Project cost is about $650,000. The vast majority of that would be assessed to the adjacent properties. Really everything except for about $88,000, which primarily represents 50% of the stormwater costs, and that was a change that the council adopted here in the last year. So half the stormwater costs are paid by the city, half by the developer. Virtually all of the other costs are 100% assessed to the developer. So again, 14 lots, there'll be some twin home lots within the subdivision. Intended schedule here is a little bit dependent on when the developer signs his assessment agreement and provides the prepayment. I haven't got any update on that, but we do intend to design this, turn it around yet sometime this fall, bid it with a completion date for next summer. No completion date for this year. So.
Any questions for John? If not, that public hearing is closed. What are your wishes?
Mayor, the Public Works Committee reviewed this, recommends approval of the resolution authorizing improvements and ordering the preparation of plans and specs for the street and utility improvement project for Long Pines Estate Phase 2, and I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution authorizing the improvements and ordering the preparation of plans and specs for Long Pine Estates Phase 2. Kelsey.
Mayor and Council, City Engineer Pratt mentioned that the staff recommendations that then continue upon receipt and signed developers agreements and then payment of prepayment of a portion of the assessment policies.
Is that okay with the motion?
That was part of my motion. I thought I said that, sorry.
I must have talked over you. I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Good point, thank you.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. And we're back to Dan, you're on item 5B, I think, Dan?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Very good, Your Honor. So, item B is pretty simple. It's the second reading of ordinance 449, which amends the zoning ordinance for fees for an extension of a non-conforming use permit. Basically, what this does is it allows us to take and charge a fee for extending the permit. There is a cost to the city for that. It makes sense that we should establish a fee for it. So the committee reviewed this, the council did too at their last meeting, recommended approval, and I so move.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance 449, which amends our zoning ordinance relative to section 3 for fees for an extension of a non-conforming use permit. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
So item C is also a second reading, adoption of ordinance 450, which rezones an area at 804 Randolph Road from I-1 light industrial to B3 auto-oriented. The committee reviewed this, recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance number 450, rezoning an area from I-1 to B3 at 804 Randolph Road. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries, and ordinance 450 is adopted.
Item D is first reading of ordinance 452, which amends our subdivision ordinance, and this is rather lengthy and complicated, so I'm going to call on City Planner Larry Remen to take and explain what's going on here.
Okay.
The city has been looking at revising its subdivision regulations, and they were asked by Becker County to look particularly at some of the regulations as it relates to how we exercise our subdivision ordinance in the 2-mile extraterritorial area. We met with city council members and county board members and reviewed our ordinance and talked about the changes that they wanted, and we came to what we all thought was a consensus on how those changes should be adopted and what changes should be adopted. Certainly there wasn't 100% agreement either way, even with regard to the changes that we did agree to make and with the changes that we explained to the county that we would not be able to make. But we certainly felt that everybody felt it was a workable draft. And so Planning Commission reviewed this, they had a public hearing. Roy Smith was at the public hearing and expressed his opinion about all of the issues that he had raised with the county. And the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the ordinance that's before you tonight. So that's it in a nutshell.
As did the Community Development Committee also recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 452, which amends the subdivision ordinance of the City of Detroit Lakes. Discussion?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to defer to Chairman Wenner, but I know there was some discussion. We had somebody, Kyle from the Becker County Zoning was at our meeting yesterday, and there was a request by the county to defer looking at this for a couple more weeks, and we felt as a committee that its first reading is 30 days or more before we adopt it, and we felt that would be plenty of time if the county wanted to come back and discuss it some more.
Yep, exactly. We could make minor revisions and present them at the next meeting. If it's anything major, we could start the process over,
Sure,
but we
yeah.
need to get this thing going, so
No, that's
we
fine.
recommended approval of it. Yep.
Okay, so the motion and second is to give first reading.
Got a question?
Yep.
I know this involves townships, so just exactly how many townships are we talking about being involved with this, on this territory?
Well, in general, there's Lakeview and Detroit, but in reality, if you look at that 2-mile extraterritorial area, we could be taking in
Erie? Burlington, maybe? Yeah.
So they potentially could all be on this board, and that's what it comes out to be then.
Well, that's a complicated matter that we can discuss later if it comes to that, but there are multiple ways to do that. You could have one large extraterritorial joint powers board, and you could have individual ones that would deal with each township. So it's not a straightforward answer. I'm sorry, I don't have a straight answer.
Okay.
Yeah, and that concept isn't actually part of this.
No, and I
this anyway,
understand
so-
that, but we could come to that if need be.
Yep.
Okay, so the motion and second is to give first reading. Further discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion is carried, and first reading of ordinance 452 is given.
Okay, thank you. Item E is consideration to a resolution approving the preliminary plat of Long Pines Estate Phase 2, 1798 Brainerd Boulevard. Staff was telling me that if we approve the preliminary plat tonight, we could also approve the final plat.
Yes, we should do preliminary and final approval.
Could we do that in one motion, or, okay, so, anyway, I make the motion to approve preliminary and final, plat for 1798 Brainerd Boulevard, Long Pines Estates.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve both the preliminary and the final plat for Phase 2 at 1798 Brainerd Boulevard, Long Pines Estate. And there are a couple conditions in that resolution regarding the park dedication fee and the stormwater and the land disturbance permit. So, further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you. That is
That concludes that.
all I have, Your
Okay.
Honor.
Bruce, we're back to the Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item A is discussion regarding request from Essentia Health to eliminate parking on Frazee Street from McKinley to Washington and the parking on the east side of Washington from Winchester Building to Frazee Street. As noted in the agenda, this was discussion only we had at the Public Works. Certainly encourage any other council members, either tonight or in the future, to weigh in on this, but we plan to have Mayor, we plan to have some follow-up meetings, get some more information. Obviously, we want to make sure that businesses along Washington for sure would have input to this plan. And also, as noted by our city engineer and some other folks, that that whole corridor is getting more traffic now because Willow's been closed down. So things may change a little bit in the future. But so right now it's just discussion. We'll follow up in the future.
And we've got plans coming up within a couple of years to upgrade Frazee Street along that stretch too, so that might factor into the whole process. But that's just discussion only, right, Bruce?
Correct, but we would encourage anybody to weigh in at any time on that.
Okay. I'll do that. I guess my concern would be where are the people going to go? And that they may end up on the residential streets in Ward 2 right by the hospital, and that maybe if we take all that parking off, that we need to put permit parking on those residential streets. Otherwise, it's like we're kind of going back to square one over there.
Yeah, and I think we definitely would have to have public hearings on that when we get there. Because there'll be discussion on that with, like Jamie was saying.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're a ways off from doing anything specific, so. Anyway, any further discussion on that for now? Okay, Bruce?
Okay, item D is consideration to rejecting all bids for South Shore Park Shelter. Such bids were open July 18, 2019. The bids were over what the estimate was. And I move, the Public Works Committee recommends rejecting all bids, and I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to reject all the bids for the South Shore Park Shelter.
Mayor, I just have Brad Green maybe give us a 1-minute summary of what happened there.
Yeah. There's a couple little different issues, but Tom Golan, Park Supervisor, and I will be looking at it closely. Some of it was the time framing. We thought it'd be a good fill-in later in the year, and we were wrong. Yeah, all the contractors are working, prices are up, and it way overshot our estimates. So it's been clear that and our estimates. We're hoping to reject these bids, and then this winter we'll assess things and bid it, hopefully in a better time frame and bidding.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to reject the bids. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Item E is consideration of resolution accepting a bid for the South Shore Park parking lot, Veterans Memorial Park, and the City Park paving project for a trail. Such bids were opened on August 8, 2019. The Public Works has reviewed this. There's a letter from the city engineer in your packet. The total cost for the bid would be awarded to Felt Plumbing in the amount of $340,958.72. And what we're going to get for this is, besides the parking lot on South Shore, some parking lot improvements in Veterans Memorial Parkway, and then the trail from basically Langford, which is south of Sanford, through the park and over to the pavilion. A big part of this, and I compliment the staff for looking at this, is we're going to have some crossing nodes right by the rec center there where that playground equipment is. And that's a well-traveled area on North Shore Drive, and this will be great because not only will the trail cross there, but there will be a safe area for people to cross in and back and forth into the park. So Public Works recommends approval, and I so move.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution accepting a bid for the South Shore Park parking lot, the Veterans Memorial Park improvements, which is and the trail through the city park, as outlined by Alderman Imholt. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. So, John, quickly, we'll just start.
My discussion with contractors, they will do a good chunk of the project this year. We don't have a requirement for completion of any of the work this year, partially to temper our concerns over bid prices.
Okay.
But it sounds like Salt Shore Park will start this year for sure.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Bruce.
Item F is consideration resolution setting a public hearing to vacate an alley between West Avenue and the railroad tracks. This is not a repeat of the vacations you've been hearing about. This is a separate vacation. Public Works recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution setting a public hearing to vacate an alley between West Avenue and the railroad tracks. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item G is consideration to accepting a proposal for a geotechnical evaluation of Washington Ballpark Grandstand. Your Honor, there's still a little bit more that City Administrator Clem is going to look into, so the committee would like to authorize that we approve the proposal for a geotechnical evaluation with not a particular firm for up to $9,000, and the Public Works Committee recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a proposal for a geotechnical evaluation of Washington Grandstand. The city administrator will have discretion over who does the evaluation, and it'll be up to an amount of $9,000.
Your Honor, I just maybe would have Kelsey give a quick, what is a geotechnical evaluation, what we expect.
Mayor and Council, if you recall, when we did a structural assessment last year, one of the recommendations was to have some soil borings done, a geotechnical evaluation of what's under the grandstand, what's the basis of the footings, is that structure moving at all? So basically, we're following through with that recommendation and getting some quotes and proposals from, there was one in the packet from one particular firm that would do that. Basically, they come in, drill a bunch of holes, core samples, figure out what the soil is like, and basically comes up with a recommendation.
So did we do any testing on that facility before? I thought we were going to try to figure out if it was moving some other way or whatever.
City Engineer Pratt and his firm did do some elevation checks through the winter. Maybe the word is inconclusive. Some of it moved very little, some of it moved a little bit more. That might be a concern. So again, just trying to get to the bottom of what our options are.
Sure, okay. Do we need to vote, don't we?
Yes.
Your Honor, just one quick thing. We would like the school district to participate in the study, but right now I would just encourage the council, we don't have an agreement with them, but I'd encourage the council to move forward. We need to do the study to know where we're at.
Very good. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Item H is considering approving the cost proposal for Detroit Lakes Public Works Department and Becker County Highway Department study. We've had some discussion between Becker County and the city about having some type of joint building out on Tower Road. The architect gave us a proposal of $6,800 between the two entities to do that study. Becker County has agreed to pay $3,400, so the Public Works Committee recommends that we approve $3,400 to Ortel Architects for the study, and I so move.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the cost proposal for the Detroit Lakes Public Works Department and Becker County Highway Department study. And the city's share would be $3,400. Discussion on the motion?
Well, I just wanted to mention that the Development Authority, at their meeting here this last week, they did agree to do a land swap with that building, with the land we have on Tower Road, which would be next to the utility department, to exchange what they have for that land over by the new jail system. So we're going to swap land there, but part of the agreement is that if the county doesn't build their public works building on that site, it would come, we'd just swap back, we get our land back, and they get their land back. So we're trying to make this thing work out so we can share some of the stuff one way or the other.
So in the study, are they going to look at the possibility of having, two buildings and then share just joint, facilities or amenities or
I think they'll probably have like 4 different
options? Okay.
One would be a shared facility, parking, offices, everything, 2 standalone within that property that the swap with the new towns and stuff. Also look at a combination of building storage separated from offices, shared office and that.
So there'll be lots of different mix and match in there, okay.
Yeah, we've looked at a number of them, but they were going to update that, and should we, once we approve this, I'm sure that we'll have some things to look at very shortly.
Very good. We need to vote, right? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the motion carries.
Ron, thanks for keeping him on task there.
I got Glory over here, Ron here, so I'm in pretty good hands.
Yeah, I know. And some of us get you off track, so it's not all your fault too. So, consideration of request from 412 Lakes chapter of the Minnesota region of Antique Auto Club to waive the rental fee for Long Lake Park Shelter on September 28th for the annual Minnesota Region Fall Foliage Drive. Discussion at the Public Works was, if we start waiving fees for one particular group, we're going to get into waiving fees for everybody else, and the committee would prefer to keep the fee structure as it is. So the committee recommendation is to deny the request to waive the fee, and I so move.
Seconded.
Motion's made and seconded to deny the request to waive the rental fee for the Long Lake Park Shelter on September 28th for the Lakes Chapter of the Minnesota Region of Antique Auto Club of America. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
J is consideration of resolution accepting the report and setting a public hearing on the abatement of these disease trees for 2019. Public Works recommends accepting the report, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the resolution accepting a report and setting a public hearing on the abatement of diseased trees for 2019. Discussion on the motion.
One question on this, Mr. Green, when would that time frame be to remove those trees?
It'll be within this year. We'll be sending notice, once we get approval of this, and we send out notices, we give them time frame to respond to it.
Just for the public information, Brad, if the tree's in your front yard and it's on your property, are those included in this list?
Yeah, front or back, we do go in the back.
Or wherever it is on your,
If it's on city right of way or city property, the city does remove it. These are just private properties, I believe there's 47 properties that were affected.
So
that gentleman's kind of been on a rampage the last couple of years.
The stuff in the boulevard, then, we just do that and it's not affecting them?
The city takes care of that. But sometimes it's, close, but
right.
We do determine that in the thin one.
Okay, thank you. Discussion on the motion further? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And that hearing will be when? The next council meeting?
Yes.
Is that okay?
We did K. Item L is a request by Melinda Fudge to have more than 2 animals at 424 Central Street West. As you note in the packet, there's been complaints. The Public Works Committee reviewed her request to have more than 2 animals, and we recommend denial of the request, and I so move.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny the request for more than 2 animals at 424 Central Street West. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I got a couple of items I'm going to skip before we get to the city engineer's report. Item N, as requested by Councilman Boki, I think was to make sure we get acknowledged the donation. So consideration resolution accepting a donation from Lake Detroiters in the amount of $4,000 for channel markers on Detroit Lake. And I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the donation from the Lake Detroiters in the amount of $4,000 for channel markers on Detroit Lake. So would that be new channel markers? New channel markers? Okay. Further discussion?
I just want to say thank you to the Lake Detroiters. I think they're a great partnership, something we needed, the city provides. They stepped in, put them in, also cleaned them earlier this year from the seagull droppings, if you will. So I think they look great. They're marked perfect. Thank you for the partnership on that.
Yeah, it certainly made going through there at night safer for sure.
Yes.
Very good. Well, we sure appreciate it. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
We had a request by Public Works for the city auction to sell some equipment. I'm sorry, Brad, you gave it to me, and I'm not going to read them all off. Public Works Department would like to sell some used equipment. Committee reviewed it, and we recommend approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the request by our Public Works Department to sell some no longer used or no longer utilized, but used equipment, right?
Yeah,
Discussion?
then plows and good trucks.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Item M is the city engineer's monthly project status report. I'd ask our city engineer to give us a report. And yay, Lower Willow is ready to go there by M&H.
We're getting there. I'll tell you more about it. Mayor and council, I'll skip the top three of the projects on the list are essentially buttoned up. Going through final closeout. Project number 4, Randolph Road, Chris Street to CASA 54. That project's underway, albeit moving a little bit slower than I'd like to see, but we had some discussions with the contractor today, and next week there's going to be a little bit more activity going on up there. So that's probably going to take another 4 to 6 weeks to really make some headway on that and get that thing reopened. But underway. Westlake Drive from Legion to 6, still moving along. The county and their right-of-way consultant are in the process, and I'll actually be starting tomorrow, meeting with people again on final offers relative to the easement acquisition and so forth. So still making progress on that. We've got a ways to go, but still on the horizon here for construction next summer. So the next one I'd bump to would be the West Avenue and Willow Street project. It's one of our largest projects this summer. As Alderman Imholt indicated, Willow Street, the first section of Willow Street from Washington to McKinley is now reopened as of last night. There's obviously a little bit of cleanup work there to do yet, but at least drive on it. So the good news is that's open, but about 5 minutes after we opened that, we closed the Roosevelt and Willow intersection. So the good news is there, less than 2 weeks that will be reopened, because it has to be reopened before school starts in no uncertain terms. So I think they'll get in and out of there. Curb crew's coming back again at the end of the week to work on concrete moving through that intersection and towards Jackson. Really a pretty aggressive schedule to finish up the rest of Willow. So I think in another few weeks, all of Willow should look really good. On the other hand, West, we're really in the throes of that right now. The southern portion of it, they've got most of the utilities done, working down there, working up on the north end of West, and that'll all sort of converge at some point, but it will take the remainder of the construction season to get that wrapped up. But they're doing a great job. I would commend the contractor on that project. South Washington Avenue, I just wanted to mention the city administrator and I, and likely some other city staff and county staff are going to be getting together. I think it was late August, early September. We picked a date, I just can't remember, to sort of have a kickoff meeting with that. That'll be a cooperative project that we'll be working on with Becker County for next year. That one will go right away in the spring is the idea. So as council, if you have thoughts and ideas, what you think that's going to look like, by all means pass those on to staff, and we'll be talking more about that in the coming months or so.
Just on that, absolutely. Will you let us know the meeting date when you find it out, please?
Certainly.
Yeah, thanks.
And the last comment I wanted to make was discussion at Public Works that we set a meeting time and date for I guess I'd call it a public input informational meeting with the property owners on the west side of Long Lake. Our capital improvement plan technically includes the next phase of the Long Lake project to start next year. So that'd kind of be the northwestern side of the lake. I think the intention of the meeting is to bring the folks in from all of the west side of Long Lake, talk about the project and whether we need to be moving ahead or not, or if this is something we should defer for some years and pick it up again. So that meeting is on September 5th at 5:30 p.m. here. That's all I have.
Can you answer questions now?
I sure can.
Are you going to put the final lift of asphalt on West and Willow in next spring, or does it get it this year?
Unfortunately, it's going to wait till next spring. I thought about Willow putting that on. Unfortunately, we ran into some subgrade that needed to be corrected, and that kind of fizzled
make
that
sure
drain.
it's
We're
good.
going to wait. Yep. It kind of stinks, especially for Brad's crews, but it's a smart idea to wait.
Second question on Willow, there's some kind of a divider by the intersection with McKinley. What's that for?
Yep. So at the intersection of McKinley and Willow, we'll actually have, and you just can't see it right now because the striping hasn't been done, but there'll actually be a dedicated left turn lane. So as you're driving, you can pull over into a protected left turn scenario. That divider is to get the oncoming traffic to move to the outer portion of the road so you don't have head-to-head action
I
happening.
just couldn't get the vision, but now I do.
We'll paint it, and it'll be very clear.
Okay. Further questions for John?
Just a comment, I think that project has been pretty well staged on the Willow Street Jackson area. I know it has been intense, especially at Jackson. I have no idea what exactly. It seems like you're fighting a lot of water there, but I think the staging has been the least disruptive it could be, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a challenge, but the contractors actually, I owe them a lot of credit. I mean, we laid a plan out, but they've been extremely good, probably one of the best in terms of working with property owners and caring about property owners. So they've done a really good job.
Does that conclude your agenda, Bruce?
It was a long agenda, Mayor, but a lot going on in Detroit Lakes. That's all. We're all done.
Okay. Vice Mayor Zeman is going to take the Finance Committee.
Okay, item A. This is consideration to the first reading of ordinance number 451, amending section 512 of the city's code, local sales and use tax. We did vote on amendment already for this, but I'm going to have Kelsey explain why we're back looking at this again.
I'll take this one,
Okay.
Alderman Zeman. Yeah, you all probably recall that I think we just passed and adopted our city sales tax ordinance relative to the funding of the police department. We were ahead of the game. Shortly after we got our ordinance passed, we received from the Department of Revenue a template ordinance for sales and use taxes that they are asking all of the communities who are newly adopting sales taxes to use. The substance is really no different. Matter of fact, all of the mechanics of it, the rate of it, the beginning of it is the same. The fortunate part about getting our ordinance adopted when it is that we will be able to implement the tax starting with the last quarter of this year, so starting in October. So this will not change that. Essentially what we're asking the council to go ahead and adopt this, we're calling it an amended ordinance. In effect, what it is just utilizing the Department of Revenue's template for city sales tax ordinances rather than the earlier version that we had adopted, but there is no substantive change. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay.
The committee recommends, and I so move the approval.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading of ordinance 451, which amends section 512 of the city code regarding local sales and use tax. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries, and first reading is given to ordinance 451. Is there any time constraint on this where we need to get second reading before next month? We're good? Okay. Anything else on the finance, Ron? Otherwise, you can jump into the public safety.
Okay, public safety. Item A, yesterday we had a great presentation from Son Lathrop from Essentia Health. Told us what everything is being done over at EMS as far as giving service to our community with all the ambulances and so forth, and did a very good presentation. It was for information only, but he did a great job. And we move on to item B now, a consideration to accepting a grant in the amount of $5,000 with a 50% local match of the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources to purchase a structural turnout gear for the Detroit Lakes Fire Department. Kelsey, you want to tell us about this? Or Chief Scott?
I'll let Ryan speak on that because he wrote the grant.
Good job.
Are you going to pass the buck too, or are you going to tell us about it?
Jason didn't show up, so nobody passed it. So every year the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources puts out a grant with The OSHA guidelines changing on our structural firefighting gear now expiring regardless of the condition at 10 years. We are behind the 8 ball in that, so I wrote a grant for $10,000 with a $5,000 match, and we were accepted and approved for it.
So does that take care of the whole department then, Ryan, or? No, not even close. Okay. But it's a start.
It's a start.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
I guess,
Go ahead, Matt.
Mr. Swanson, what is structural gear? I mean, what qualifies that? Is that everything you guys use, or?
That would be our, from helmets, coats, jackets.
Gotcha.
That's it.
Excellent. Thank you.
And also, you mentioned now that there's a 10-year rule for equipment, that once you reaches that date, even though it may appear to be in great shape, it's got to be disposed of.
Yes, and that's an OSHA, a new OSHA guideline that came out, I think it was 2 years ago, and they're now setting their teeth in on making sure that got some standards.
Very good.
And while we have our chief and assistant chief there, I think most of us know, but maybe the public doesn't, that we're going into a transitional period now because Chief Flynn, who's been part of the fire department for over 22 years, and he's been our fire chief, he's going to decide to step down here December 31st, and he might stick around till April to kind of help out with the transitional period, but we're going to have a new fire chief January 1st, and that's going to be Ryan Swanson. So they've been a good team together, and we're going to miss the service of Scott, but he's going to be there to help out when we need him too. So they've done a great job, and I'm glad tonight that we had 2 more people sign up. That's a big job for fire departments now, to find people that want to put in 20 years of service, and I'm glad we had 2 young guys here tonight to do that.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. Congratulations, Ryan.
I haven't been voted in yet.
Oh. So if you get in there, do you have a son you're going to groom for the future?
There we go, yeah. I only got daughters.
Okay. Well, daughters can be police chiefs. Yeah. I shouldn't have said the son, right? Like Joe Biden here. Did we vote on that match? We have to vote on the local match for the grant. So all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Anything else, Ron?
That's all, Your Honor.
We'll go to the liquor gambling control. Dan?
Item A is discussion related to regulations around noise permits. We had a long discussion there on making some evolutions in that ordinance. Basically, it looks like it's going to be a longer process than just afternoon conversation, so we're going to continue that conversation in the future and see if we can make some headway on that.
Are you going to keep it on your agenda then, Dan, for next month? And
we'll just keep it on there probably for the next 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
We'll make some choices.
It might take that long.
I do have one other item here that wasn't on the agenda. It's approval of the issuance of a temporary liquor license to the Detroit Lakes JCs to sell and serve liquor at the Pavilion at 1361 Washington Avenue on September 5th, 2019 for the Welcome to Detroit Lakes event pursuant to their application and fee. Liquor and Gambling Committee reviewed that, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve to approve a temporary liquor license for the J.C.'s for September 5th at the Pavilion. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything from the public utilities, Kelsey, that we need to bring before the council? Okay. I do have some appointments I'd like to recommend to the council. I'd like to reappoint Peter Jacobson to the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center Board. He has served 2-year terms and is eligible for another term.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to reappoint Peter Jacobson to the DLCCC Board. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Wendy Beskey and Rick Kittleson are both going to go off the library board. I do have one name. I'd like to recommend that Carol Oberholzer be appointed to the library board to fill, I guess we'll have her fill Wendy's position. And I would look for a motion on that.
So move.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Greta, our new librarian, did ask if there was anyone in the council that would be interested in serving on the library board, and that person could fill the library board vacancy that's available and also act as a liaison. So if anyone has an interest in that, you could sure let me know at any time.
If there's any questions, if I can speak to anything,
Well, Your Honor.
I'd be happy to. I'm here to answer questions.
Okay.
Mr. Kittleson, so this would be Mr. Kittleson's term that expires August 31st, 2020?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's correct.
I would serve out the rest of that term, Greta.
Thank you, Bruce.
I'm happy you're over the library a lot. You guys do a great job, so.
Thank you.
That will fit in with, by August 31st, 2020, you'll need to find somebody else, so.
Yep, it would just be, if you would just, 1 year, give me a year. Yep, it's just to fulfill Rick Kittleson's term because he moved to St. Cloud. Darn it.
Okay. Thanks,
thank
Greta.
you, Bruce.
I would like a motion to appoint Bruce then to fill out Rick's balance of his term.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. John Thorpe has resigned from the Planning Commission. I'd like to recommend the name of Chris Nord to serve out the remaining term, which expires in February of next year, so not too long. So I would look for a motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Chris Nord to fill out the balance of John Thorpe's Planning Commission term. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would like to recommend that we reappoint Jeff Swanson to another term on the Police Civil Service Commission. Jeff has done 2 3-year terms and is eligible for another additional term. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to reappoint Jeff Swanson to the Police Civil Service Commission. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would like to recommend the reappointment of Dave Nyson to the HRA Board. Dave is eligible to be reappointed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to reappoint Dave Nyson to the HRA Board. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A few announcements, I guess just one announcement. The 2020 Budget Committee schedule is out, and they are in your packet. Anything additional from the city staff this evening for the city? Brad?
I'd just like to remind people of the community that Minnesota DNR is holding an open house on the proposed landing on North Shore Detroit Lake down by the Holiday Inn, and that is set for August 28th. I think there is at 4 or 4:30 here at City Hall. And this is at that time, we can post it at that time, but on August 28th at City Hall here, they'll be holding a public forum on the landing.
What time did you say?
I have 4 to 6.
I had that down too from,
4 to 6.
yeah.
4 to 6.
We're going to go with that.
Yep.
Bruce, anything additional tonight?
Well, do we have anything, do we know about the Boys Club, or the council invited to the Boys Club opening? Do we have anything on that?
Pat Peterman said there'll be invitations going out, but it is on August 22nd.
August 22nd?
But there will be invitations, so.
Yeah.
And then,
3 to 6 p.m.
I don't know the details, and I don't know if Jamie or somebody would just comment on Madeline's absence. I think we just ought to recognize that she's medically unable to attend.
And we don't know how she feels about the chickens. Right? Do you have some inside information? I thought Gloria said she had to have some surgery, or?
I don't know
Madeline?
anything. I believe that's correct.
Okay. Well, we wish her the best, and we hope she gets back here soon. Anything else, Jamie? Dan? Nope. Ron?
I just have one item. Last week, I was invited to go with some people from Becker Soil. They have an office in the Roosevelt Building, and it was to go around Detroit Lakes. There were 3 pontoons of us folks going around. We looked at rain gardens and buffer zones on Big and Little Detroit, and it was pretty impressive. But the thing that really impressed me is that this Becker Soil is tied into state funding, and a lot of these projects were up to 75% of the projects were paid for by funds they're able to get from the state program. So if people are thinking about having some rain gardens put in or buffer zones, They certainly have a handle of where to get dollars to help you with the cost sharing on these projects. And I was just surprised at how much money they have to put in on these. In some cases, it was over 75%. So if you're out there thinking about doing a buffer zone or rain garden, get a hold of Becker Soil.
Good, that's good information, thank you. Matt?
No, Your Honor.
Natalie?
No.
Jay?
No, sir.
Dan?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
I think we've concluded the agenda and the business of this council has come to an end. The meeting's adjourned.